A lot of people don't know this, but Norway has the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world. This fund came from the oil and gas money from the North Sea. Instead of spending it all at once, the government decided to invest that money in stocks, real estate, and bonds spread around the world. Today, this fund has surpassed the $1 trillion mark and is called the Fund for Future Generations. In theory, it sounds perfect. The oil profits were turned into a giant vault to secure the lives of Norwegians in the future. But in practice, reality isn't quite like that. Despite all that money on paper, the population has been facing a lot of problems, like high prices, cuts in public services, and growing inequality.
And I was one of those people who stood in the supermarket with a calculator, checking if I had enough money to buy avocados, because I worked for 10 years in the healthcare system.
We didn't do that.
They did.
SIFO published a report warning about what they called food poverty, meaning people have to choose between putting food on the table or turning on the lights.
Nave sounds the alarm about the rise of poverty in Norway. More poor children in Norway. More than 500,000 people are poor. And what's even worse, 111,000 of them are children. Are there poor children in Norway?
The richest country in the world, and the state has at its disposal an unbelievable $20 trillion in the oil fund.
Just in the last year, the value of the fund increased by about 4 billion kroner.
Gas exports are now at a record high.
Norway's trade surplus was 65.3 billion kroner last month.
Elementary schools are being evaluated or closed in the country.
I don't usually record videos like this out of the blue, you know, especially since I just posted a video yesterday. I think it was yesterday, that's right, and I usually take a while to edit. But I got this amazing news, at least in my opinion, that I've been waiting for a long time. Now, what's it about? It's about Norwegians waking up. Waking up because prices are through the roof and Norway is an extremely rich country. It doesn't make sense for you to pay so many taxes like we're paying right now. I was at home editing the news script for the next video, and a Swedish friend sent me a documentary on YouTube that made me really happy because it was exactly about this price hike, both for food and especially for energy. And then, officially, winter starts at the end of the year, right? November, December into January. And guys, we're really worried because prices are going through the roof. And we're quite concerned that the price of electricity is going to go up a lot in the winter. I'm not Norwegian, as you can see, but I live here, I pay taxes, I've worked here for many years, and I have the right to give my opinion about it, right? After all, my son is Norwegian. I'm not, but he is. So, this video from the documentary, I cut out some of the most important parts and translated them using artificial intelligence. So it won't be perfect. There will be some mistakes, but I wanted to translate it so you can understand the real problem Norway is facing right now.
So, Norway has the second highest taxes in the world and the highest public spending in Europe. With so much money, everything should already be just happiness and prosperity in Norway's welfare state. But instead, we see cuts in public services, cuts in healthcare, municipalities on the verge of bankruptcy, purchasing power in northern Norway plummeting, cuts to the police, sky-high rent prices, sky-high housing prices, and sky-high electricity prices. It all started with an electrical fire. This month, I paid 4,000 kroner for electricity. I wasn't alone. Then the video went viral. One video turned into many. Since electricity was clearly just the tip of the iceberg, offers started popping up.
But you won't see that inequality on TV. They're not going to show it. However, people are waking up. A lot of Norwegians, you know. This documentary broke the record with almost 400,000 views. For a country like Norway, with more than 5 million inhabitants, that's a record number of views. Now I'm going to show you a debate with the Prime Minister of Norway. The questions are direct, and this young woman really puts him on the spot. You're going to be impressed by her.
And I was one of those people who stood in the supermarket with a calculator, checking if I had enough money to buy avocados, even though I worked 10 years in the healthcare system. So here's what's happening. What's not being said, and what I've realized is a huge problem that no one talks about, is that you all talk about the supermarket sector, that we need to break up this monopoly of power, but the biggest beneficiary of profits in the food sector is actually the state itself, and you collect taxes at every stage. You charge 15% VAT at the final stage, at the supermarket checkout, but you also added ACO2 tax. You increased taxes on the price of diesel. You sold our electricity to the European Union, which caused a lot of people to get higher bills. I checked the numbers, and farmers were the ones who received the least support for their electricity bills. So, it's no wonder that prices are going up when it's the state itself that profits the most from rising prices. And this is never going to be solved as long as the state continues to have an interest in prices going up.
We didn't do that.
You did.
No.
Yes.
And what's happening is that I've been working very actively on this over the past few weeks. I called together the entire food sector.
I know that, but isn't it true that you profit when prices go up? You collect taxes. You can't sit here and deny that.
No.
It also gets more expensive for people when they need to hire employees with all these business taxes and everything. Yes, because they know I'm here on behalf of the people, and we listen to you talk and debate.
Look, Norway loves to show the world that it's a successful, sustainable, and modern country. It always shows up in rankings for quality of life, education, and economy. And it's true that there are positive aspects, but not everything is as it seems. A lot of that image is built on the sovereign wealth fund and oil wealth. The government sells the idea that everyone here lives in abundance. But the reality for those who live and work in the country can be very different. The cost of living is suffocating. Many families depend on credit to get by, and the emotional weight of isolation is also part of life here. It's like Norway creates a perfect showcase for the world, but behind the glass, the story is different. And that's exactly what very few people have the courage to expose and talk about here in Norway.
I think everyone realized it was just empty talk to say that the price of energy would only go up by 4 or 5 cents when we connected to the two largest and most expensive price zones in Europe. But that's what you also said during the debate on NRK.
This cable, along with the one to Germany, will make an average Norwegian family pay about 50 reais more per month on their electricity bill.
Because it's important to understand that what people think is that we export energy. Then we end up short on energy here, and the price goes up. But that's not how it works. 95% of the energy stays right here in Norway. The highest price for a unit of energy over there in Germany, in Trondheim, sets the price for all of southern Norway. So everyone pays the most expensive price. What kind of market is that?
Basically, the cables are profitable for Statkraft and Statnett because energy gets more expensive. They make billions and billions. At the same time, foreign investors were ready to invest in wind energy, but it wouldn't have been worth it under the old system. So they just said, let's connect to the EU. We promise energy will only get a tiny bit more expensive. And that's when we should have thought, we're screwed. Now we have to pay German energy prices for our cheap hydropower. It's like buying a beer at the grocery store and having to pay bar prices for it. So, thank you cables, thank you elected politicians, and thank you lobbyists. Next time you have to take a cold shower.
If you're one of those who thinks your electricity bill has been a bit high lately, here's some good news for you. Statkraft is making a killing. Check this out. Even the experts are scratching their heads over Statkraft. One of the most impressive cost increases I've ever seen, says Leandre Haging, who has 20 years of experience as an analyst and manager. Because the number of Statkraft employees doubled in 7 years. Salary expenses tripled in 7 years. But they're not producing more energy. But what happened, from the teacher's point of view, to the Norwegian school? Among other things, there was an increase in bureaucracy. And several people quit because it's also very, very, very exhausting. Norway spends more than any other Nordic country on education, but has some of the worst results. And what a lot of people don't know, because it really doesn't make sense in Norway since we have waiting lines in healthcare everywhere, is that, in fact, we have twice as many nurses per capita as Sweden and Denmark. Just take a look here. Norway is among the world leaders in nursing coverage. Norway has more nurses per capita than any other OECD member country. And even so, we have waiting lines in healthcare. Because in Norway we've created a system where only authorized nurses can perform a range of tasks that unqualified workers are allowed to do in Sweden and Denmark. We've simply become so bureaucratic that there's a staff shortage in Health Norway.
So, my congratulations to the person who produced this amazing documentary. I'll leave the link below so you can click and watch the original documentary in Norwegian. You can turn on Portuguese subtitles and you'll understand it perfectly. The documentary is about 56 minutes long, so it'll be pretty quick. Or maybe not, right? And as I've already mentioned in countless videos talking about how hard it is to find jobs here in the winter, especially in the winter, and also about prices that go up drastically, like energy, as I mentioned before, food, and services in general. Guys, the prices are really scary. You might even earn a good salary, but it's not enough. You have to make way above average just to get through the month. And yes, there are a lot of Norwegians who struggle to get by, but you won't see that on TV. It's really covered up and hidden. Let's just say it's a hidden kind of poverty. So, I'm talking about my reality here, because I live in this country called Norway. And look, I love this country, but I have to tell it like it is. Just so you have an idea, the average salary here is around 30,000 kroner, 27,000 kroner per month after taxes. This is the average salary for a good part of the population. Of course, there are people who have higher salaries. A few winters ago, we paid 12,000 kroner just for electricity to heat the house. That's surreal. Let's say you make 25,000 kroner. That was the salary I used to get when I worked in painting, and you pay 12,000? Wow, that's a lot of money. I want to emphasize again that this video is to thank the person who made this documentary, or actually, these people, right? And to congratulate them, because that was really cool of them. And what this documentary showed me is that we should keep hope, because things are changing here in Norway. And as I said before, that's really good. Like I said before, I hadn't planned on recording a video today, but since the topic was really interesting and urgent, I wanted to bring it here for you. May God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next video.